Welcome to the My Creative Days podcast, where we will talk about all things DIY, home decor, decorating tips, and creating a beautiful home on a budget. I am hoping our time together will spark a creative idea, help you plan your next DIY, or inspire you to finally tackle that project you keep putting off. Grab your favorite cup of motivation and let's chat. Hello and welcome back to the podcast. Today we are going to talk about organization, and it's spring. Spring is coming. It is in the air. Hopefully the weather is great wherever you are already, but if it's not there yet, it will be here soon. So I thought I would talk about garage organization today, and I love to organize the garage. So our garage, we do park 2 cars in our garage. It is the place when the weather is nice that we do a lot of our projects in. So it's kind of a workhorse in a way. But it's also an area that I don't like to have a lot of stuff in there that we don't need, or, things that the kids have grown out of, or, when the old sleds or old, all those kinds of things. I just don't like to have it full of stuff because it has to function as storing 2 cars and as a kind of a workspace for me and Matt when we are doing different projects and things. So since it has to function for all of that, keeping it organized is super important. So I thought, since it's kind of getting the time of year when garage organization is talked about, people think about it. I had somebody ask the other day about a certain thing in their garage and how they should organize it. And so I thought, let's talk about garage organization. And this is kind of, even if you don't have a garage, maybe you have a shed, maybe you have a little, like a lean-to, a carport. It doesn't have to be a garage, but maybe an outdoor space where you house items. This is just some tips on how to get it organized. And the garage, it does seem like a daunting task, right? Especially if you've just been throwing and packing stuff in the garage just to get it, out of your house so you don't see it anymore, right? So just put it in the garage. I'll get to it later. Just store it in the garage. I don't know where it's going to go yet. That kind of thing. So it can be you feel like it's a really daunting task, but a little planning, a little effort, it's super manageable. And then hopefully we're not in the habit of, let's put it in the garage. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. If you are saying those kinds of things let's just put it in the garage. I don't know if I'm going to ever use that. Let's just put it in the garage and then I don't have to deal with it. Those are the kinds of things that need to go. Those are the kinds of things that we need to donate because you're right. You don't know where they're going to go because you're not using it. You're not wearing it. You're not, whatever it is. It's just time to donate it. So don't look to the garage as, again, garage, a storage shed, whatever it is that you have. I'm going to, call it a garage today, but don't look at the garage as, it's an extra space to just store things. It's just like your house. The only things that are going to be inside the garage are things that you're going to use. It's not just a storage garage, right? And, I should do I don't know. When I say storage garage, I know people that actually pay a monthly fee to have a separate storage garage somewhere for things that they aren't using or use in their house, or just, and and it's just people that, not that they have like multiple homes or anything. They have one home, but they have so much stuff that they have to go rent a separate garage to hold more stuff. So kind of the same thing, like your garage is not just there to store stuff. It needs to work for you when you need it. Store things that you are going to use or that you love. It's the same kind of principles as the house. But it's obviously different things inside the garage. So the first thing you're going to do is sort and declutter. So just like any other room in your house or any closet or any drawer or whatever, take everything out. And I know that's like, some people are like, oh my goodness. But here's the thing. If you're taking out everything out of your garage, and let's just say you have a bunch of bins along a wall, right? Like you have no idea what's in the bins. Obviously, if there's like family heirlooms, you think, number one, those should not be stored in a plastic tub inside the garage. But if you don't know what's in those bins, and you don't, throughout the year, if it's not like Christmas decorations or whatever, you're not even going to them at all during the year, it's probably just time to get rid of them. But taking everything out and going through everything is part of the task. So it's a good project it's going to be a full weekend, depending on the size and depending on how cluttered it is. But pick a nice weekend. Make sure the weather's going to be nice. But just like in your home, you're going to separate the items as you're taking them out, and as you're going through them, you're going to separate them into categories. Number one is keep, right? We are using this thing. Maybe we don't use it right now, but it's a seasonal thing that we use. It's something that it's not just stored to be stored, right? Like those are the things you're going to keep. You're also going to have a pile for donate or sell. And then you're going to have, like a trash, like things that just need to be thrown away. The garage is a great place for you to make some extra money. So there's usually things in there that you're getting rid of. Put them on Facebook Marketplace, on Craigslist, your local neighborhood, if you have like a network type of thing, and sell the things that are in your garage. Put the money away for a vacation. If you're not using it, get some money out of it. If you find that you have so much stuff, maybe you've just finished decluttering the house and now you're decluttering the garage and you have enough to have a huge yard sale. Do it, get some money for it. But know that as soon as that sale's over, or that everything else that has not been sold has got to go. You have to go donate it that weekend as soon as the sale's over. Put it on the curb and put a free sign on it and put it on Facebook Marketplace that you have, all this stuff for free, whatever it is. It has to go. You can't bring it back in the house. You can't bring it back in the garage. So as you bring stuff out, put them into those 3 categories. And it's kind of nice when you do like a garage or an outdoor space. You can spread it out in the yard, down the driveway. You've got a lot of space to work with. So it's super, super nice. If you haven't used something in a year, if you have duplicates of something, if there is something broken or you can't use it anymore, like it's not functional anymore, and anything you don't love or need, like those are the things that have to go for sure. And duplicates it's funny to me because the amount of money that you will save once you get organized from not buying duplicates, like seriously, it's like you can save a lot of money. So that's definitely the first step, right? And then once you've gotten all of that done, then you're going to categorize, right? So you're going to figure out how you use the items that you pulled out. So you may have, groupings of like sports equipment. So for those kinds of things, the kids need to be able to easily, get to them, right? And we're not talking about that right now, like how you're going to put it back. But those are some things that you need to think about as you are putting these things into categories, right? So you may have a category for sports equipment, gardening tools, automotive supplies, household items, and so on, right? And then once you kind of know those separate categories, you can kind of visualize. That's why I said like the sports equipment, the kids have to get to those, right? So they need to be in an area of the garage that, is not covered up by a car, or, if they needed to open a locker to get out the, I'm just trying to think, the football pads, whatever, they can easily get that without hitting the car or, having to move a bunch of boxes or, so kind of think about those things that you are keeping that you have now put in categories where they kind of need to be in the garage. The garage is a space that you have to maximize vertical space. And there are so many garage organization things that you can find online. You can find at your local Lowe's or Home Depot, Menards. But you need to go up in your garage, right? Especially like for us, it's a 2-car garage. There's a little bit of room in the back for like a little workbench and a little bit of extra storage. But when we are working on a project, the cars have to be pulled out. Like I can't park 2 cars in there and then work on a project. If that makes sense, there's not a lot of, extra space to kind of work on projects. And so, going up in the garage, vertically is just a great way for you to, use the space that you've got. We also, like, our garage is not finished on the inside, so it's not like heated or cooled, or it doesn't have insulation or anything. It's not attached to the house. But we have found ways to, we are people that do a lot of projects. So we have to keep wood and supplies on hand, whereas you may not. But we have found ways to utilize, the walls in our garage to store those things. So it's not just like a free for all. Things are just thrown away or thrown about wherever they go. When we work on a project and we need a 1x4, we know exactly where to go in the garage and find that, right? We need a knob for a dresser. We know exactly where to go, what drawer to go in the garage to get that. So maximize vertical space, and then also maximize the space you have, like what you have to work with. You may not have a tall garage. We don't have huge walls or anything. But we definitely do go up with, the things that we need to, hanging bikes when the kids were little, those kinds of things. You can install pegboards. We do have a pegboard behind the workbench, which, you put those, I'm not going to think of the names of them, but the silver things that come out and that can hang a bunch of stuff on the pegboard. Anyway, so we have pegboards in the garage. Think shelves, cabinets. You just want to keep things off the floor and easily accessible for what it is, right? Those categories that we talked about, where those things need to live in the garage so they're easily accessible. They're not all over the floor. If the kids are going out to play a sport, they know where to go get that. If you're working on a project, you have things so you can easily get them there. And then just to keep things off the floor. That's the goal. Now, this is up to you. This is something that, again, I've kind of talked about in our house. I don't like have a label maker and have everything labeled, right? I just don't need, most of the stuff that I'm organizing with inside the house is clear or that I can see. And so I don't need to label that on top of that. But sometimes in the garage, you are using more things like totes or, bins or those kinds of things that you might not be able to see through. So if you need to figure out, a label system or, pick up some labels, definitely do that. But for me, I like to keep it simple, right? So we have a set of lockers in the garage, and that's where the sports equipment goes, so there's baseball mitts, a baseball, basketballs, those kinds of things are in there, right? They're lockers. That's kind of like, we know that's where it goes. And once you start getting things in, after you categorize them and you kind of get them in their spaces, you don't necessarily have to have labels, because you're going to live there, you're going to use this, right? So unless you are somebody that really thrives with labels, go for it. Like, for sure, do it. But don't think you have to do this step. It's just for those of you that kind of thrive with that and think maybe having things labeled. But here's the thing. Let's not store a bunch of things we aren't using. I just want to reiterate that because I said sort and declutter initially, but really be honest with yourself. Don't just have 75 totes in the garage for someday, for maybe, right? Like, don't do that. It's taking up prime real estate. And I promise you, once you get rid of these things that you are not using, or that someday may come out, or that maybe I'll like this thing someday. Maybe I will go cross-country skiing. I've had these for 15 years. I've never gone, but maybe I'll go someday, right? Like, let's be really honest with ourselves. Like, that's not going to happen. And if it does, I can rent some. My friend so-and-so has a pair. I can use theirs. Let's stop with the excuses. Let's get real honest when we're doing these projects and getting organized, and just get rid of it. You will feel so much better. I promise you. Your mind will feel better. You'll feel lighter. Your space will just feel so much more clean, and just, it won't be embarrassing. Even your garage. So, especially if it's a space that's maybe hooked onto your house or like connected to your house, and you have to go through it every single day, right? To get into the house. You want that space too, to be clear of clutter and nice and organized. So sometimes we do a few things. You store seasonal items. So that's fine, but make sure that it's things that you use every year. So is it Christmas decor that you're actually bringing out every year? Like, do you go to that tote and get all the lights out of that tote, right? Or something. I'm just making up things up. Or that's where all the wreaths go, and I put every one of those wreaths up every year on every window of our house. Or do you just have a big tote of Christmas decor that never comes out, right? So and if you live in a space where it's you have seasons, so maybe you need to, depending on how much stuff you have, sports equipment that goes with different seasons, if you need to like kind of put those away and store them away. But then you have to, if you're doing those kinds of things for seasonal items, you have to make sure that you go through them seasonally, right? So when winter comes, you get down the winter totes, go through them, make sure everything fits, you use it, whatever. And if not, it needs to go, right? So you're constantly going through the seasonal stuff as that season rolls around and making adjustments and getting rid of things as you see fit, right? So creating a workspace is another thing that I added here, because if you do work in your garage, or even just like that's maybe where you store tools and things that you need for your home, and just being a homeowner, or renting too, you need to fix things or whatever. It's a good idea to have a designated area for it. And this does not mean you need a complete workshop, a full work table, not at all. Maybe it's just a corner of your garage. Maybe it's just one pegboard in your garage where you can hang, like hammers and some screwdrivers or whatever it is that you have, right? Like it doesn't have to be a major thing in your garage, but yet it's an area that if you need a screw, a nail, a drill, a hammer, or whatever, you go to that area. So definitely designate a space for that inside your garage or shed, wherever you're doing this. And then keep it clean. So here's the thing for us. Like I said, we have a 2-stall garage. We keep 2 cars in it. When we work on projects, we are pulling out the table saw. We are pulling out the miter saw. We have 3 tables. We have, what do I want to say? Fold up tables that we can bring out and work on. Like everything's pulled out, right? And what is it about DIY projects that you think, okay, I'm just going to need a few things, a drill and this. And then it's like 15 tools are out and you're like 6 extension cords and you're like, how did this happen so fast? But what we have to do then, and this is what I always say, living in a smaller house and having the smaller spaces has put us and really helped us make this a habit of putting things away. Because if things aren't put away, as we use them or as we're done with them, our house can be cluttered and messy in no time. Same with our garage. If I want to put both those cars back in the garage, and I do, I have to pick up everything that we used and pulled out for every project that we do. And it just becomes part of the project. It just becomes part of the using the garage. And so, you may not be doing a bunch of DIY projects in there, but, if your kids get all the sports equipment out or all the toys out, outdoor toys out or whatever for a day or an afternoon, well, before we go in and have dinner, we need to put all those things back where they go, right? Same with like if you're working on your yard and you've got all the garden tools out and the mowers out and the weed whackers out, whatever. It's like, okay, now instead of just going in the house or leaving them all out, make time, like part of working in the yard is putting everything away in the garage as soon as you're done. I'm telling you, once you have everything categorized and a space for everything, where everything goes, this stuff it doesn't take long, the picking up and putting it away. That's not the hard part, right? And if making that a habit is the hard part. If it's something that if you're somebody that's used to just getting everything out and then just leaving it for a week, the hard part's going to be making it a habit to not do that anymore and taking the 10 minutes at the end of your project, the end of the work or yard work day, whatever, to put the stuff away. But it's worth it. And when you have everything, you've gone through everything, you don't have anything of excess or things you're not using, and you've got kind of zones for everything, you will find that picking up part in the end is so much easier. So a lot of times what we will do is Matt's really specific or really particular about his tools and where things are on the workbench, which is great. Like that's what he wants to organize. I do the house. So it's great. So when we work on projects, he kind of stands at the workbench when it's like we're cleaning up and things. He will stand at the workbench and I will bring the tools to the workbench so that he can then put them away. All the scrap wood that I may have to burn or that I'm just throwing out, yes, keep your scrap wood, but yes, there are times when you can't keep, certain scraps, but I'm cleaning all that as he's actually putting the things away. I can push the tools. We have carts that like the miter saw's on or like the table saw's on. I can push those back and put those away, but it's just a system we're in. Okay. We're done working for the day. We're done doing the projects for the day. Matt starts putting things away around the workbench, the smaller tools, and getting all of his batteries hooked back up again. And I'm then in the garage, brooming things up, picking up, like I said, the scrap wood. It just, once you make it a habit and because you're going to love the organization and it not being a mess all the time. And so you're just going to find, hopefully that it just becomes a habit, and that's just the way it works anymore, right? So you did all that work to get it there. So now put in the work to keep it there. And that work to keep it there takes a lot less time than you having to do this entire process over again in 2 months. Don't do that to yourself. Don't do that to yourself. So, okay, those are a few of the tips to kind of keep your garage or get your garage organized. It's the perfect time before summer hits and we're busy and we're gone and we're out of town. Take the time to do this during the spring, and then just enjoy what it looks like. Enjoy the organization. No more clutter. It's a great area to get organized in the spring. So if you have any questions, let me know. Always reach out to me. Email Lindsay@mycreativedays.com. You can reach out to me on Instagram @mycreativedays. I love to hear from you. I would love to know, is your garage organized? Do you have a garage? Is it connected to your house? How do you use your garage? What's your biggest struggle in your garage? Like, tell me all the things. Reach out to me. I'd love to hear from you. So until next time, I will talk to you soon, and get your garages organized. Hello, friends. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. I am grateful that you tune in every week and that you share the show with your family and friends. I love having creative chit chats with you, and my hope is that this podcast will inspire you to try a new project, start a DIY that you've been putting off, and decorate your home exactly how you want it. There are a few ways you can help us with the podcast. Follow the podcast so you don't miss an episode. And if you could take a few minutes to leave the podcast a review, that would help us so much. Again, thank you for being here, and I look forward to our chat next week. Bye-bye.